Nestled in the foothills of the Angeles National Forest, at the northwestern corridor of the Inland Empire, and within an hour's drive of Southern California beaches, deserts, and mountains, Upland is a vibrant city, boasting small-town charm as well as large city appeal, as seen in this episode of Upland is for You. Managing the finances of an organization, business, or household can be rather complex. This is especially true when managing the finances of an entire city. Strategic long-term planning is essential for meeting the needs of today and anticipating the needs of tomorrow. In this episode of Upland is for You, we sit down for a candid discussion with City Treasurer Greg Bradley and Acting City Manager Stephen Parker on the subject of financial stewardship.
Today we're going to be talking about the finances of the city. We'll be sharing about how we have some of the strongest reserves that we've had in well over a decade, how there's been some intentional efforts over the years to get to this point.
I'm the newly elected treasurer for the city. My position is an overall review and monitoring of what the finances of the city are, make sure that we get the things done that the citizens want.
In 2016, when the Fiscal Responsibility Act was established, it called for a minimum of 12.5% reserves for the city. Council wanted to make a concerted push to get to 25%. Right now, we're over 35% in reserves. That means you have to be budgeting correctly throughout the process to the extent that you have revenues. That's all you're spending. That doesn't mean that your spending demands aren't higher, but that you're staying within the revenues that are coming in. And they did a good job of doing that, albeit by having to cut services, by having to outsource our fire department to the county. By having to outsource our library to a private contractor.
We just passed a new general fund reserve policy, which then designates 5 or 6 different places where we're going to put money for future costs.
The General Fund Reserve Policy established 6 essential reserves and adds to these reserves during years when revenues exceed expenditures, keeping Upland's future financial health a top priority.
Pensions is the highest bucket that we have because it's the greatest liability of the city. That one is one where it's very prudent to do, but the desires of our residents coming through elected officials helped us determine that the next highest bucket should be that of infrastructure replacement.
I've seen some of the changes, positive changes. Obviously, the pension obligations is something that we take very seriously, so we're very careful with our finances. We're very careful in what we spend, very thorough, and looking at other options to generate, revenue.
The city adopted a pension funding policy just recently to try to establish 3 different ways in which you will put money aside in a Section 115 trust, and then saying that if there's additional liabilities in the future, we'll be intentional to pay it down at a faster rate with the money from the trust so that we don't find ourselves with a growing UAL into the future.
We're working towards the possibility of getting a pension obligation bond. Because the bond would have a lower interest rate than what we are paying CalPERS, if we can translate that UAL into a pension obligation bond, then that just about cuts the interest rate in half, or actually more than half. The decision to move forward will not be made until the last moment to make sure everything is in the right place.
Reach out to me and come to me. I'm happy to take a meeting and walk through and explain because it's so complicated. But we also have put on our website a webpage devoted to information about pensions and specifically the possibility of pension obligation bonds. www.uplandca.gov/pensions is the website where they can go at any point and learn a lot more about it.
In addition to the measures referenced prior, the City of Upland has maintained a proactive posture when addressing our pension UAL by requiring increased employee contributions toward pension costs.
This year, the American Rescue Plan Act was established. That provides a significant one-time level of funding coming our way. The city will receive over the course of the next year $15.2 million. On a $45 million budget, 1/3 of an annual budget coming your way is very big. The first use of that money actually allowed us to implement what Chief Goodman has desired for a few years. It's called a corporal program. And that will allow 4 additional officers to come on board and have 5 current officers move up to a corporal level, adding a 20% increase in services for our police response is something I'm very excited that we're able to do. One of the areas that we've already discussed of great need is in our infrastructure. Hiring a consultant to identify what those needs are and what needs to be done to get it into a better condition is something that we'll be using that funding with. One of the items that we're looking to use funds for is to provide assistance for rent for those businesses who were struggling through the pandemic. The city actually has a survey that's out right now looking for resident priorities on American Rescue Plan Act money. They have until August 31st to provide their input on where we should prioritize spending from American Rescue Plan Act.
Some of the city's recent financial successes include winning the GFOA Award, a rise in census participation, and elevated growth through new businesses and job opportunities. The city's thorough financial reporting caught the attention of the GFOA, the nation's premier government finance officer body. Fiscal resources can be greatly impacted by the census. Upland's participation in the census rose by nearly 7% in 2020, netting a response rate of over 77%, the second highest in the county. 2021 first quarter sales increased by 23.3%, reflecting consumer optimism and loyalty to Upland businesses and shopping centers. New business openings are on a promising trajectory to finish out the year strong, boosting employment opportunities and diversifying the local economy. The City of Upland has a history of success in the area of business development. We caught up with Mayor Velto at one of Upland's premier shopping destinations.
Hello and welcome to the Colonies in Upland. We're just so happy to have this center located here in the north end of town. Right at the 210 freeway and the campus off-ramp, you'll find the Colonies Crossroads. This is really one of the greatest shopping centers the city has. It's a huge tax generator for our city, bringing in the much needed revenues to provide the quality of life the residents come to expect in our community. The Colonies has all types of restaurants. We've got some great places to come and enjoy some good food. So there's plenty of places to come up here and enjoy yourself and get a beautiful view of the mountains. And that again is one of our highlights of living in the city of Upland, is being at the base of the foothills, Mount Baldy, Cucamonga Peak, Devil's Backbone, some of the things that people come to Southern California to see. And what's really important is when you shop Upland, we keep that revenue within our city, and that money comes back in and we're able to provide the necessary support services that you in Upland come to expect, helping to make Upland a better place to call home.
You can catch future episodes of this series as well as find additional information by visiting us at www.uplandca.gov or on social media. And always remember, Upland is for you.